All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Happy mid August. My name is Aaron Corbett. I'm super excited to be back here for a Gumloop webinar. I'm so sorry for moving this from last week to this week, but super excited to be back. So let me know if you're in the chat. Love to know where you're joining from. I'm joining from, little murky San Francisco from the Gumloop offices, but super excited to be here. So yeah, say hi in the chat. And today, we're going to be building out a workflow that is one of the most common workflows on Gumloop, which is how do you prepare any meeting? We're going to use a sales meeting as an example, but you can prepare internal meetings, external meetings by going into your internal systems, scraping the web, and getting a one-pager that prepares you automatically using AI for any of your meetings. We've got a little poll going, dark mode versus light mode. It seems like most folks, or it's actually quite close. We got 57% on dark mode. Let me know which one you prefer. But yeah, super excited to kind of kick this off. And yeah, unless there are any questions or folks in the chat, we've got Waze, as always, in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Super excited to have you. Yeah, let's kind of go off and start building our flow for today. Still going to use dark mode. Okay, so I'm going to go start sharing my screen. And you should see a flow here. This is what we're going to build for today. So as always, I like to map out my workflow before I start building, breaking it down step by step of what we want to do. So first thing, I want to look at my calendar. I've got an example right here. These are the two meetings I have today. I've got one with Sam Altman and then another with Bill Gates. It's a big day for me today after the webinar, obviously. And then what I want to do is I want to do some customer research. I want to understand who these people are, how have they used their tool, what are some of their users saying about the tool. I want to go out and get some information about them. I want to format them and send a report. So this is going to look like this. This is going to be automatically sent to my inbox at the beginning of every day for every external attendee I have today. So this is our goal for today. It's going to look a little different because AI doesn't always have an example, like an outcome that's always the same. And if there's something in this report you'd like to see, an example of how you would like to adapt it, let me know in the chat. I'd love to adapt this to what you're building. But what I have in mind for what I want this customer research to do is two things. So let me go over here. I wanted to take the email address of the attendee, in this case, Sam Altman, Bill Gates, or anyone else I'm meeting, grab some company information. So this is like recent news about OpenAI, about Microsoft that I can bring into the conversation. Maybe one quick description of what they do. Maybe I'm not meeting someone that's as famous as Bill Gates and I want to understand what their company does and based on their website. And then I want to go into our internal systems. In my case, this is going to be Salesforce and HubSpot and kind of understand what is the usage of this company, what are some tickets that they've written, what can I bring into the conversation, maybe the QBR we had recently, going into our internal systems and bringing all of that back to generate the report. So we're going to go into our calendar, do this customer research, then we're going to format that research right into the email you just saw and then send it. If we have some time, I can also show you how you can automatically create it with chatbot in Slack. Probably not going to have that today, but would love to maybe do another webinar where we cover that. Let me know if that makes sense in the chat. Really excited to start building this out. So we're going to start actually, as most of the time when we build flows, with the underlying pieces. So in Gumloop, you often build the small pieces of your workflow and then put them all together to build something bigger. So we're going to start with this right here, this email address that goes and grabs the company information. So let's go ahead and jump in to Gumloop. There we go, right here. Okay, so I'm in my Gumloop flow. This is what our canvas, this is where we're gonna put step-by-step every single automation that builds out our flow. So what I wanna do is I wanna grab the email address, right? That's eventually gonna come from our calendar. But for now, I can just use an input node. Input nodes are the starting point for your flow. And then by buildings, we can connect like our scaffolding a little bit. So my email, I'm going to use Bill Gates at Microsoft.com. Fun fact, I used to always use Reed Hastings as my example on calendar invites, but then Reed started rejecting my calendars. So that means that he was actually receiving them. So if you're Reed Hastings, I'm deeply sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to start with Bill Gates. And what do I want this flow to do? I wanted to get recent news about Microsoft, and then I want to get a quick description of what they do, right? So in our case, for the next step in our flow, for recent news, I quite like using Perplexity, right? So Perplexity is a kind of AI search. It lets you put in a prompt. It's going to give you results for that search. So I can go ahead and connect Perplexity, and this is for kind of getting recent news. And I'm seeing light mode and dark mode are still tied. So if anyone wants to break that tie and kind of decide which one we should go for today, go ahead and vote in the poll. And whenever next vote is going to get which one we use for today. Okay, so I want to do connect. So I want to say, give me recent news about Microsoft.com. That's what I want to put in our search query, in our Perplexity prompt. So I'm going to say, give me recent news about the company in this email. Now, when I'm passing, the email is right here. I want to pass it over to here so it dynamically populates here. That way, when we change the email, it's going to change the Perplexity search for the right company. Okay, we got one more vote. I'm ending the poll, dark mode for today. Appreciate everyone who voted. Maybe we'll do light mode next week. All right, connecting, and then I'm passing in the email, right? So this should give me recent news about Microsoft. Let's run that. And running means executing every single step in our flow. It's grabbing the email. It's executing the Perplexity web search. We can see the output, our response, recent news about Microsoft. Fantastic. So now any email we put in there, we are going to get recent news about that company. Fantastic. So we've done the first branch right here. Now we can do description, right? What do I want to, maybe like again, coming back to this idea of if I don't know much about this company, usually their homepage is a really good place to get information about them. So I can scrape their website. There's actually a tip where I like to do this for lesser known websites. I can do a website scraper. Now what this does is that you give it a URL and it's going to go and grab the homepage. So if we were to use gumloop.com, it would grab all of the content on the page. However, we only have the email. So if I connect this and I pass in the email as I did before, run this, it's going to give me an error. It's going to say, hey, you don't have a website, you just have an email. So we need to grab the email from the domain from the email. That's really, really easy. I'm going to use AI. So I can click into the node. I can use extract data, which takes text and extracts data from text. Extremely useful if you're doing things like grabbing clauses from contracts, invoices. In this case, we're going to do something much simpler. We're going to say, hey, take the email. Let me close this out. I want to take the email and just say, hey, can you get the domain? So we're going to say extract domain from email. So JPS missed the first few minutes is the same as the lead enrichment type of workflow. If not, why not? No. So actually, our goal for today is to generate this report. And we're going to generate it automatically for each attendee in our calendar, right? It is similar to the enrichment flow where we're going to build pieces of our workflow and put them all together in order to build a workflow. But our goal is to generate these types of reports, go into internal systems, grab the web, right? And build that report automatically. Great. So we're extracting the domain from the email. That's what I'm going to pass to the website scraper. And now we're going to extract that information. Let me format this. There we go. Let's run that and let's see what the outputs are for this. Okay, so we go into the extract data. We have the domain. Fantastic. And now it's currently scraping the website and it's got what Microsoft does. Great. And if you want me to test with your email and you're comfortable sharing it, drop it into the chat. I'm happy to run this with your domain as well. And even happy to run the report at the end with your email if you're happy to. Okay, cool. So let's output this, right? So if I look at our email address, I can now, this flow right here, these red is what I want to output. And each one of those are going to go into my customer research, into my format research. So we've created our first subflow. We're going to output. And now folks who might be less familiar with Gumloop, let me know in the chat if anything want me to spend a little more time on. let's go and say, okay, output name, I'm going to have, what do I want to output? I want recent news. That's going to come from Perplexity right here. Response. Then what do I want? I want company information, maybe like that. And that's going to come from the website scraper, website content. Fantastic. So now we've built kind of the first piece of our automation, right? We're going to call this get company information. So the first building block, and what's great about this is we're going to be able to reuse this, whether we're grabbing information from Slack or from Calendar, we can reuse this. It takes an email and it outputs recent news and company information. So what is the next kind of piece? Now I want to go to internal systems. So a good example is here. I have my HubSpot for Microsoft, and I have some tickets related to this company. So ideally what I would want for every single meeting that I have, I want to go to HubSpot, find the company that's associated to that contact. And then I want to grab all these tickets. And I'm going to put all of this into the AI report, right? So if we go here, we see that we have these tickets that have been submitted, right? So we want to make sure that we're grabbing all the internal information that we can every time so that when we get to that meeting, we really have all of the information. So Stephen asked a great question. What is the best strategy to how to know which node to use? Like, how would you know to use Perplexity? It's a great question. Well, first, by watching the webinars. Appreciate you joining. In general, what I would recommend is going through the different categories, right? You have core nodes, understanding what's possible here. As you build more and more, you'll be able to kind of instinctively know which nodes are the best for your particular workflow. It's very easy when you're going to existing tools, right? But it takes a little bit of practice, especially when you're using things like Apollo or third-party data to be able to find it. And if there's anything that you learn and want me to share or educate folks on, please let me know. Would love to do more of these. Great. Okay, so we are building the next branch, the next piece of our system. I want to take the email address. I want to go to HubSpot. I want to get the tickets, and I want to go to Salesforce and get the opportunities related to this account. So let's create another subflow. Now you could build this here as well. That's totally up to you. I like building smaller pieces. It increases reusability, makes it easier to understand what's going on, and makes it easier to debug if anything happens. So let me call this internal systems. So again, it's going to start with the email address. That's what we have as a starting point. That's what we have in our events. I'm going to use Bill Gates again. And now what do I want to do? I want to go to HubSpot, find the company that's associated to the contact, and then get the tickets and get the contact information of the people who submitted the ticket. That's a lot, right? That is a lot. It would mean we would have to go to HubSpot. Let me find the HubSpot right here. And then we would have to get tickets, get contacts. There's a lot that required. But in Gumloop, what you can do is write a prompt that generates the node that does exactly what you want it to do. This is particularly useful when you are either doing something that requires multi-step, right? We're going to use a few throughout, and you can just prompt what you want. So I'm going to say, retrieve tickets associated to the company given an email. Let me try to give it an email. Retrieve tickets associated to the company in the email. So if email is aaron@gumloop.com, retrieve tickets associated to gumloop.com. There we go. So I'm giving it a prompt, and now it's going to understand that prompt and build out a node that does exactly that. Let's generate that. So it's assessing our prompt, and it's saying, okay, here are the inputs, parameters, and outputs I think you want based on your prompt. So it's telling me, hey, as input, I'm going to take an email, just exactly right. Then I want you to select ticket properties and the maximum number of tickets you want me to return. Sure. And then I'm going to return the company name the company ID, and all associated tickets. That seems extremely reasonable to me. That seems pretty good. So let's go ahead and generate the code. This is saying now it's going to go and understand HubSpot, right, using MCP, and it's going to start writing code that generates these outputs. So we're essentially building a node that kind of corresponds to our particular use case. Other examples which we'll use today is saying, hey, get me all external attendees for my meetings today. Given an email, return all opportunities related to that contact in Salesforce. I still have to figure out what we're going to have to do during these live streams when AI is thinking. So if anyone has any ideas, now's a good time to drop them in the chat. But luckily, the code has started generating. We can watch that scroll in. Now, note, I don't understand any of this, and that's totally okay, right? The AI is writing this for me. We have a lot of systems in place to kind of guide this towards the right output. And what we can always do is test. So before you complete the node, you're going to have to test and make sure that the outputs match what you want. So I'm going to say Bill Gates at Microsoft.com. I want to include all tickets, so I'm hoping to keep this empty. And then let's put 10. Let's run the test. And what we're hoping is to get a list of tickets associated to Microsoft. So great, it says company name, Microsoft, company ID right here. And then we have all of the information of each ticket. That's exactly what we wanted. That's fantastic, right? So now we have our tickets from HubSpot. We just give it an email. It goes out. It figures out what company is related. It finds the tickets associated to it. If we have some time at the end, we can even start adding additional outputs. We can say, hey, can I also get the contacts that submitted the tickets? That's fantastic. Okay, so let's finalize the node. I always feel very cool, very like, oh, I did this amazing thing when I build an MCP node. HubSpot ticket retriever. We're going to name that, get tickets from company. Let's save that node. And now, instead of having multiple steps, figuring out who the company is, finding the related tickets, we've just built that node in one step. So now we can pass in max tickets 10. Let's run this. And now we have our list of tickets for any email that we provide. And it's going to go ahead and find that information. If we look at the outputs, we have our tickets, we have our company name and company ID. Fantastic. The next thing, I also want to go to Salesforce. So I want to find the opportunities that are related to that. Very similar process, right? We're going to go to Salesforce. Let me find our Salesforce node. And normally what I would do is go through the process with MCP again. But if I remember correctly, I already created a webinar Salesforce opportunity. This is an MCP node that I built before, just very similar process to what we just did a moment ago. I can grab that, pass in the email. And if we resume and run from the beginning, we can grab that information as well. If folks are interested in me building the MCP node for Salesforce, if you're Salesforce users, I'm happy to do it as well. I thought it was very repetitive with the HubSpot because it's very, very similar, right? So contact details, contact opportunities. And now we have kind of our system that goes internally and grabs our internal. If there are more systems that you want to go to, like Zendesk, or maybe you want to go into Slack, you want to go into your emails, Adio, Monday.com, you can put all of those nodes and just prompt what you want from those specific tools and grab. So when you're thinking about how do you implement this for yourselves, think of all the different places you need information, and then you can build the flow to grab what you need from each one and aggregate it all into your report. That's where we're going in a moment. Now, I want to output this. So let me add an output node. So just like before, we're building all the pieces that are going to go into our research, our report, right? Into our one pager that AI is going to format for us. So I want to output these opportunities and I want to output these tickets. Now note, you can notice that these are lists, right? So this is a list of tickets. Ideally, what I would want is like a big blob of text. I don't want a list. I don't want to iterate over that. I want a big blob of text. If you're new to Gumloop, this may feel a little weird. We're going to smush those lists. We have a whole course around smushing and lists on Gumloop University. So what we're going to do here, because we just want to provide text, I'm going to smush both of those right here. Let's smush the opportunities. And we're going to call this opportunities. So we're just doing a little bit of formatting here. If folks are unfamiliar with smushing, let me know either in the comments or in the chat. Happy to spend a little bit of time here. Let's pass it like that. We're going to smush this. We're going to call tickets. And that is what we're going to output. So first I want my tickets. That's coming from here. And then we are going to output our opportunities. Great. So now where are we in this flow? It feels a little weird, right? We have this passing in an email. We're getting opportunities. Oh, let's make sure to pass those opportunities into the output. There we go. We're getting the tickets. And then we are also getting recent news about the company and company information. We have every building block, right, that we can now all pass into an AI step to say, hey, you have all this information. Write me a beautiful HTML report that I can then send to myself, right? So we are going to now connect everything together. So now we're going to go to our calendar, get our customer research, use everything we just built, format that using AI, and then send the report to ourselves every morning at 8 a.m., 7 a.m., whenever you want, right? So coming back here, we're going to build a final subflow, which we're going to be send report. So what does this do? First, we need to go to our calendar. We need to grab every external attendee. I want to grab Sam. I want to grab Bill. And then I want to run this right here for each one. I want to run this right here for each one as well, and then bring that back. So our first step where we're starting is Google Calendar. So I'm going to bring in Google Calendar. Now here I can do another MCP. I can say retrieve all external attendees in meetings in the next 24 hours. So domain is not gumloop.com. So attendees where domain is not gumloop.com. Let's generate that. Now, of course, I could also just use our native Google Calendar reader node and then kind of filter out and then loop over that. This feels much simpler. So it's going to give me pick a calendar. I don't want time zone. External attendees, meeting details. Let's see if we can generate that. Yeah, I agree. Super powerful. Yeah, it's super fun to build these MCP nodes. Yeah, often you can get to the same result, but with way more work. MCP nodes make it very, very easy, unless you are doing a webinar in which you have to fill about 45 seconds to a minute of time. Makes it much harder for us, but otherwise, much, much simpler. If this takes too much time, I also have it pre-built. I'm always ready, Ken. I'm always ready. How would you best filter out generic domains like Gmail? Very simple. You can just add that to the prompt, right? You can say, hey, do not include any emails that are related to Gmail. Let's see if it gets the right output here. We're hoping that it's going to return. There we go. Bill Gates, Sam Altman. Fantastic. The AI has been, the AI gods have been nice to me today. Correct results on the first try. But yeah, Mike, if we want to say, okay, don't include, we can just also include that in the prompt or even request changes and just write out what we want. So yeah, let's finalize that node. So this is going to be external meeting attendees finders. That's correct. That's what I want. I'm going to connect it to my calendar. So if we run this, I should get, external attendees for today, just as we did a moment ago. Now, what I want to do is for each external attendee, I want to run the pieces we just built. This is some of the most important things in Gumloop. These little pieces, this get company information, this email, this whole flow are kind of like reusable pieces. So now I can say, hey, I want you to take the list, these two right here, and run get company information for every single attendee on that list. So let's go into say, okay, how do I connect this to this? So essentially what I want to do is I want to say, hey, whatever email shows up right here or right here, for each one of those, replace this and run all of these nodes. So that is called a subflow. If you're familiar with programming, this is kind of a function concept. If you're not, it's called a subflow. We're going to go here, get company information. And what do we have? We have as input the email, and then the output is recent news and company information. It's going to execute everything we built a moment ago. So I can connect. And now I want you to notice, if you're new to Gumloop, and if you're not, it's kind of fun to see anyway. When I'm going to pass this list, it's going to go into loop mode. So what that means, it's saying, hey, I'm going to execute this subflow. I'm going to do company research for each email in the list, right? So what I always like to say is computers, just like humans, can only do one thing at a time. If you give them a list of things to do, they're going to do it one at a time for each item in the list. So that's going to return two Perplexity searches, two website scripts, one for each attendee in our day. So I'm going to do the same thing for internal systems. I'm going to go click plus, going to go to subflows, going to go to internal systems. That's also going to take the email, and it's going to go and grab all internal tickets, just like we did a moment ago. It's going to go into loop mode. So let me run this just so we see the outputs. So what is this doing? It's looking at my calendar, grabbing all external attendees. We're going to put this on a schedule, so it does it every morning at 8 a.m. Then it's going to go to Perplexity and say, hey, can you give me recent news about OpenAI, which is going to be about GPT-5? Can you give me recent news about Bill Gates? Whatever happens at Microsoft, I'm not sure. Then it's going to go and find the internal tickets for each related company. So tickets from OpenAI about our product, tickets from Microsoft about our product. There we go. So if I look, we now have two outputs, right? So we have company information about Microsoft. Oh, let me go back and show you the other one. And then company information about OpenAI, right? Then it's also going into our internal system, getting all the tickets that are related to. Now, this might feel weird. The format of this is in JSON, but AI is amazing at parsing JSON. Don't worry about it. It's going to understand every single item here without any worries. And then we have all of the information about OpenAI, all the internal tickets. So now we can feed all of this into AI to say, hey, I want you to generate a beautiful report, right? So now we have each little piece that we can do and put it all together into a report. So what we're going to do here is use the Ask AI. Another question, a great question, was like, how do I know what to use? Click on a category and see all the different ways you can use AI in Gumloop. Let me just kind of give you a brief overview. Ask AI is kind of going into ChatGPT. And this is a good example of what you could do here. You would be like, okay, I have these tickets. I have this recent news. Can you generate me an email or report? With the Ask AI, you can do that at scale. You can do this for hundreds or thousands of meetings. Extract data, I showed you an example, right? You take copy or text and you extract information from it. Categorizer, it's going to have AI assess what is the right category for any piece of text. Is this positive? Is this negative? Is this feedback, right? Generate image, AI web research lets you scour the web, analyze image, analyze video. Let's use a Ask AI. So what do we want to do? We want to take our recent news, our company information. Then we want to take our tickets and our opportunities and generate a beautiful HTML report that looks like this for each attendee. Now, you could sit and write a prompt. Not unfortunately, but what I've learned is that AI is much better at drafting a first prompt than I am. It is much more patient and can write a longer piece of text, a much more informative piece of text. So what I always do is when I want to write a precise prompt, or at least a starting point, I go to Gummy. So Gummy is our internal AI helper. I always say it's a version of me that's always available and probably a little smarter. That is in each one of your Gumloop instances. And I'm going to say, I want to write a beautiful HTML report preparing me for my meetings with the following inputs. So what do we have? We have recent news about the company. We have internal, so tickets from the company from HubSpot. I have opportunities from Salesforce. I got one more. What am I missing here? Recent news, company. Oh, right. Company information, scrape of their homepage. Can you give me a prompt to generate this? So Gummy's going to chew it over. Gummy has context around your flow. So it understands what you're building. And it's going to give you a prompt as a starting point. There we go. So let me read a summary. Create a beautiful professional HTML meeting context. It's giving you where it wants that information, right? Company research data, recent news, requirements, create a clean HTML with CSS styling, heading, structure the report with executive summary, meeting overview. Great. Now, this is maybe not exactly what you want, but it is a great starting point. And that's what I always recommend is have AI write your first prompt and then chew it over. That's really where your expertise comes in. So I'm going to copy that into the prompt like that. And now we can improve it. So thank you, Gummy, for giving us a starting point. Now I like to start mapping our information. So if I go over recent news, right, where does that come from? That comes from our get company information. Recent news, like that. HubSpot tickets, where does that come from? That comes from here. Like so. So we're just mapping all of the inputs, all of the different elements of our flow into one. Salesforce opportunities, that's opportunities. Company homepage, that's going to be company information. Great. So I don't have the meeting context. That's okay. We're providing it, so we can remove that. And HTML, make it print friendly. I don't think we need to make it print friendly. 21st century. Include company logos if available in the data. Sure. Let's see if AI can figure that out. Meeting summary, meeting overview, company profile, recent developments, next steps, actions. Great. Now we can pick which model. Now, as you're building these out, highly recommend trying a few different models. If you have some questions around what we've built so far, now's a good moment because I may be making the mistake of taking, GPT-5, which is going to take a little bit of time, might take like 45 seconds to a minute to generate these reports for each one. So what I'm going to do right away is now's a good time. Drop a question. I'm going to need some of your help to paper over the silence. And then I'm going to send that report right away. I'm pretty confident the GPT-5 is going to do a good job here. Let's connect. And I'm going to send it right away. That way we get our beautiful report and then we can iterate over it. So what do I want? The body is going to come from the response. Who is the recipient? I'm always going to send it to myself. I'm going to say your report about. And then where do I have the email? Do I have the attendee? There we go. We have it from right here, external attendee list. I'm going to connect like that. We just want the email in the body, in the subject. And now, not going to save as draft. I do want it to send it to me. And I want to send as HTML because I'm asking the AI right before to send as HTML. So let's resume. I have to resume from the start. That's okay. So let's grab it. Let's do the whole flow. Let's run the whole thing. and talk through what's going on and then see what the first output is. Let me move out of the way here. There we go. So we've gotten the external attendees. Now it is getting company information. It is doing their Perplexity search. It is scraping their homepage. Yours might be different. The steps you want to, information you want to put to your report is different, but the building blocks are going to be very similar. Now it's going into Salesforce. It's going into HubSpot. And once it's done processing, now it's going to bring it back to the Ask AI, right? So it's going to iterate over the Ask AI here. It's going to take about 45 to 50 seconds. We can see some examples of what we're hoping it looks like right here. And it's going to take some time. So let me see if there are any questions. So Laura says it would be great for the PR, IR folks. Yeah, absolutely. So you can even get information externally as well, which we haven't done in this case. You can go to Apollo. You can go to LinkedIn. You can grab additional information. We do have one called Enrich Contacts, which we ran last week, which will show you how to do that as well. I really regret picking a more advanced model, but I do want to show you the capabilities, especially when it comes to writing HTML and CSS of these models. But they do take about a minute to run, unfortunately, for me. So let's see. How are we doing? Oh, taking a minute. Okay, so there's a great question from Laura. Would you be able to do a trigger that runs if the flow meeting is added to the calendar? Yes, absolutely. So in our native, right, we have triggers. You can use a Google Calendar event reader. Oh, I'm in the way. I'm sorry. That's embarrassing to me. Let me get out of the way. There we go. So right here, let me put that in a new subflow just to show you what that does. And you can have it as a trigger to run when either the new event is created or before an event. So you can say, hey, 20 minutes before my event, run this flow. Does that make sense? Great. So yeah, this is an option of having it run automatically. Yeah, great. Okay, let me delete this flow. Let me see if the overlords have stopped thinking. No, they're still thinking, but they've got one of the two. So we know that one worked. Really regret picking GPT-5. We need GPT-5 less thinking. There we go. Okay. We've sent the emails. Great. Let me go see what those emails look like. We refresh here. There we go. Okay. First, Bill Gates. Meeting preparation, Microsoft internal automation use case is giving me an executive summary, top takeaways, meeting objectives, meeting overview, company profiles, recent developments, company site positioning, and even gives me a table of all the tickets, right? So this again is like a starting point. You might say, hey, I don't love these recommended talking points. From here, once you've built this scaffolding, you kind of come in as the person that's going to have these reports every morning to adjust them. You can adjust the prompt, see which model works best, how many uses the right tokens, gets the right information. But really, I don't know. I have this personally. I've curated over time to have my little reports. Love this. And let's see the Sam Altman ones. See, very different structure. Like the look of them is different. So what I would recommend, if you want a consistent look, you can go back to your prompt and ask them and say, hey, can you give me an HTML code that I can provide as context to the prompt? Really from here, it's where you come in and build it exactly the way you want. But really every piece from here is already built. You just need to adjust the prompt. Now, the last thing we'll do to consider this done is to put this on a schedule. So let me save this flow. And we want to say, okay, I want to run this. So it's going to triggers. Let's create a time trigger. And I want to say, I want to run this every day at 8 a.m. So now it's going to say, hey, 8 a.m. at Pacific time. Let's create that time trigger. And now this flow is going to execute every morning. So I don't need to worry about it. It's just going to execute in the background. It's going to give me my report about all external attendees in my inbox, one for each external attendee. And then we've built it. So this is how simple you can get an automated report that goes into your external systems. So we've connected it with Calendar. I think we've been here for about 40 minutes. I'm going to do the Slack bot, the next webinar, how you can just have a bot where you can say, hey, can you give me a report about anyone? We'll do that. And if you're joining a cohort, we're going to do it as well. So then goes into customer research. What do I mean by that? It grabs the email address, goes to HubSpot, goes to Salesforce, gets tickets, gets opportunities related to those folks, then grabs company information, recent news, description of what they do based on their homepage, brings all of that back into AI to format an HTML report that we send to ourselves every morning. So we'll have one report for each external attendee to every single one of our meetings. Yeah, I love it. I don't know. I just love building these automations. Hopefully you can now, let me just turn on the lights again here. No, it didn't work. Oh, there we go. Okay. So happy to now answer any questions, but really appreciate all of you joining today. This is always super, super fun. We're probably going to be back either next week or the following week, but gumloop.com/university for any updates there. So let me see if there are any questions. So Mike, let me go into the chat here. Great question. Would you need an error shield if there are any days with meetings in your calendar or without any external attendees? Absolutely. So how I would do that, it's a great question. Let me jump into my little right here. So what you can do is make this, all of this, a subflow, and then wrap that in an error shield. You can also wrap each one of these in an error shield or even just this one, right? So if you wrap this one in an error shield, it'll error out gracefully, right? So yeah, there are a few different ways of doing it. You can also use a router node. Yeah, a few examples. Cool. Cool. Okay. Well, appreciate all of you joining. We're going to be back soon. I will shoot everyone an email when we are back to webinars. Probably not next week, probably the following week. But really appreciate all of you joining. Hopefully, you can now implement this. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Drop a note in the comments. Really appreciate all of you joining today. And I will see you back here next time for some automation. Have a great day, all. Bye-bye.